Hey, hey, and welcome back to Boundaries Unleashed. I just want to apologize right off the top. I've been a little under the weather. So if you're watching this on YouTube, sorry, you're just going to get a still picture. I'm not really feeling my best. And I even have a cough drop in. So you may hear that slithering around, but I will do my best. I felt like it was still important to show up, but I'm showing up in ways that I can. And it's fully aligned with the theme of today's podcast episode, which is all about flexibility. And so if you've been walking with me for a while on this journey of becoming a boundaried woman, we talk a lot about alignment, self-leadership, and choosing yourself, and not from a place of ego, but from a place of deep spiritual integrity. But today, I really wanted to get into something that doesn't get enough love in the boundaries conversation, and that is flexibility. Just like I said a second ago, sometimes you have to shift, sometimes you have to pivot in the moment, and you have to trust that when those pivots come, they're for your highest good, especially if your intuition's really giving you that nudge. So, yep, you heard me. This whole concept of flexibility is really going to rattle a few of you listening, especially for my recovering perfectionists and my rule followers in the room who think once you set a boundary, it's carved in stone for life. I don't know if you're listening and relate to that. That is definitely how I used to be. But, spoiler alert, that's not how this works. And honestly, that's not how you work. So let's talk about how to evolve your boundaries as you evolve without feeling like you're flaking, failing, or betraying your values. Now, what does it mean to have flexible boundaries? So I first want to start with this. Boundaries are not a punishment. They are not rigid lines drawn in moral concrete, okay? They are relational tools that should move as your needs, values, and circumstances evolve. Think about boundaries almost like a spiritual wardrobe. What served you in winter might be suffocating in summer, right? A sweater is not going to work on the beach, all right? You're allowed to shift. You're supposed to shift. And the key difference here is that when we have rigid boundaries, boundaries that feel stuck like concrete, it's kind of this feeling, if you will, of this is a rule no matter what. And it's very strict, it's very constricting, and it's really about building a wall. Flexible boundaries, on the other hand, gives room to breathe. It says, this is what I need right now based on who I am and what I know. And that's the difference. That's a huge difference. Now, you might feel a little resistance when you think about being more flexible because it may feel as if you're backsliding on your boundaries. And I want to comfort you and validate you and let you know that is not the case. Okay, so let's be real for a second. If you've ever felt like changing a boundary meant you were weak, inconsistent, or backsliding, for one, you're not alone. Okay, but more so, what's most likely is things beneath the surface that are coming up to light. So you may be feeling the fear of being seen as flaky. So it's an identity thing. You may be feeling this internalized pressure to, quote, stick to your word no matter what. If one of your core values is integrity, you're going to follow through with what you say, right? You may be feeling black and white thinking, especially from people pleasing patterns. It's either we're good or we're bad. It's all or it's nothing. That is very common with people pleasing patterns. Or you may just be feeling some old programming that boundaries just have to be hard, tough, or final. A lot of us, the first time we've ever been introduced to boundaries, it's always been some sort of punishment. It's always been kind of harsh. And so there does seem to be a conditioning or a mindset that boundaries have to be harsh or hard or tough. But what I want to offer you today is a different perspective, and that is that being flexible doesn't mean we're a failure. It just really means that our self-trust is truly in action. We are trusting ourselves to feel that a shift needs to be made and trusting ourselves that we actually make the shift. It means you're paying attention to your life. It means you're paying attention to your energy, your emotional and spiritual landscape. You're seeing it all, assessing, and making a plan for yourself. Your body and your spirit will tell you when something needs to shift. You'll feel it. You'll lose sleep at night. You'll feel funny around certain people. You'll procrastinate about doing things because it doesn't align anymore. So our job isn't to double down on the old rules for boundaries or old rules of different conditions we've set for ourselves. Our job is to actually listen and then respond. And that respond is important because that means it's been thought about, it's been felt, it's been calculated to serve us in our best interest. And it's not a reaction. Okay. So to listen and respond, that is our job for ourselves. So, what does it look like in real life when we have flexible boundaries? So, let me give you some real life examples here. So, let's say you have a work boundary that you set a boundary that you're not working past 5 o'clock at night, but maybe you're in the middle of launching something. Maybe you're in the middle of a big project that you're really excited about. And so you spend a few evenings of focus time to take care of that and to work on that, but it actually feels energizing and not depleting. So, this is a prime example. This definitely happens for entrepreneurs or for people who have big seasonal deadlines. It almost feels like a rush and it feels pleasurable to actually work and develop and make something happen, even if it means it's outside of work hours. So, this isn't breaking a boundary, it's really adapting it with intention, right? There's intention that because it's time focused or it's intentional, it has a meaning and it's not just a reaction. You are choosing it and you're not abandoning yourself. It's a taking liberty with your time. There's intention behind it and you're actively choosing it. So that's what makes it flexible. Okay, so that's one example. A second example is maybe a more social example. Say you've stopped going to big group events because it just feels like too much. Okay, maybe you just want to protect your energy a little bit. It feels too much to be around like big groups of people. But maybe in making this boundary, you're craving connection or you want to feel connected. You're feeling a little FOMO and you want to be with people you care about. You want to connect with your loved ones and your good friends and you want to feel more emotionally regulated. So maybe you try a small gathering. And so this is a prime example of being flexible because it's no longer this black and white thinking all or nothing. It's not that you can't go out at all. It's just you're being very intentional about when you go out and how you go out. So you're not undoing your boundary. You're really just honoring the version of yourself who is ready for a different experience. And I can't stress that enough. I want to repeat that because when I first realized that, it was such an epiphany. It was such a weight off my shoulders that almost gave me permission to really just live the life on my terms. And it just really benefited everybody around me. So I want to say that again. When you are flexible with your boundaries, you're not undoing a boundary, you are honoring the vision and version of yourself who is ready for a different experience. Beautiful. All right. Last example I want to give is maybe you've created some structure in your life because it gave you a sense of control. Maybe it gave you a sense of consistency. And so you needed some pretty strict structure. And while you're maybe recovering from burnout or recovering from some big push, some big launch, or just a lot of stuff going on or a big event. Okay. So you created some structure in place. But now you've actually started recovering a little bit and now you've built more capacity for yourself and you're kind of wanting more flow. You're wanting more flexibility within your structure. So a flexible boundary allows you to breathe a little bit more and allows you to be in more flow. It just means that you're evolving, and that's the whole point. So when you have to create stricter structures in your life because you're nearing burnout or you're in burnout and you're trying to get out of it or you're trying to recover for some very impactful event that needs time to breathe, allow yourself to be open when you have more capacity. Allow yourself to have more sense of a flow and flexibility when it serves you, when you feel like you're energetically available for that. So those are different real world examples of what having flexible boundaries really feels like. So how do you know when it's time to adjust a boundary? Like how can you tell in your life? So I want to offer you just a quick list of reflection prompts to help you decide if a boundary needs to shift. First one being, am I feeling resentful, boxed in, or over controlled by my own boundary? Am I feeling resentful, boxed in, or over controlled by my own boundary? And this is an important one because, again, our boundaries serve us. So maybe it served us in a certain way, but maybe we've grown and have more capacity and we feel like we're actually limiting ourselves. So that's a big sign that a boundary needs to shift. Second, has my emotional state or energy changed in a meaningful way? Has my emotional state or energy changed in a meaningful way? And you'll know whether the boundary needs to be more open, more in flow, or if a boundary actually needs to be more strict. It needs to go the other way to help give you a little bit more support. So you can tell if there's that big shift and in a more meaningful way, and you'll know that. Third, prompt for you. Is this boundary still aligned with my current values and not just my fears? This is a big one. In creating any boundary, the foundation is self love always. Self love starts with knowing who you are, what you're about, and honoring your truth. Okay. Your truth is your values that you live into. These are values that you live by, that represent you and that you embody yourself. Now, is the boundary aligned with that, or is it more of a boundary to help protect a fear, like fear of being seen or fear of rejection? It's easy to say, I'm not going out, but that just might be a fear of being truly seen versus a boundary about needing more space from people. There's a difference there. So is the boundary still aligned with my current values, not just my fears? And last prompt I want to offer you is this. Am I choosing this shift consciously or reacting impulsively to avoid discomfort? Am I choosing this shift consciously or reacting impulsively to avoid discomfort? And this is where that intention comes in. And being able to sit with something, that sacred pause I'm always talking about, that allows you to sit with something and allow your intuition and allow your deep subconscious thoughts to help make sure that things are in alignment. And you're not just making this pivot because something feels really uncomfortable and you're just trying to avoid the pain. That's when we tend to react. That's when we tend to, shift down in frequencies and go to like protection mode. All right. So understand that for these shifts to be truly aligned and truly there to support you on your boundaries journey, it has to be a conscious shift and not just a reactive, subconscious, make the pain go away to avoid discomfort kind of shift. All right, so those are 4 prompts I want you to think about. If anything came up for you in those, that's how you know if a boundary needs to shift to be less rigid and more fluid, more flexible. Because flexibility without awareness is just pure chaos. It is pure chaos when you're just like, I'm gonna go with the flow. And you know those people. You may be that person sometimes. That person that's just like all over the place. You're like, that is so chaotic. Like it's unpredictable. You don't know where they're going. They don't know where they're going. It's hard to work with them. It's the same here, right? But when we create some healthy boundaries, healthy structure with it, flexibility with consciousness, that is self-leadership. That allows us to give ourselves some support, but also give us grace and capacity to pivot if we need it, if it aligns with our values and supports our goals and desires. Now, I just want to wrap this up with saying, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You are not here to follow rules. You are here to live in alignment. You don't own, oh, let me get this out, y'all. You don't owe anyone, including your past self, a performance of rigidity. You don't have to be the hard line. I said I would do it. They expect me to do it. Okay. Especially if it doesn't align, if it doesn't serve you or anyone else. You don't owe anyone repeat performance if it doesn't serve you. What you owe yourself is the honesty and courage to check in and choose again. The honesty and courage to check in and choose again. That's the gift. So yes, your boundaries might look different today than they did 6 months ago. That doesn't mean you're falling apart though. It means you're tuning in. It means you're listening. It means you're self-leading. Boundaries aren't there to cage you. They're there to free you to live your fullest, most conscious life. So give yourself permission to revise the rule book. Play by your own game. No one's keeping score but you, my friend. Your life is not static. Your healing is not linear, and your boundaries shouldn't be either. They're on a journey right with you. So they should adapt and pivot and morph and flow as needed. You are flexible, you are powerful, and most of all, you're allowed to change your mind in order to keep choosing yourself. And if you don't do that, just remember you're on the journey. We can get there. And call me. We'll figure it out together. All right. Now, if this episode is really speaking to you, share it with a friend who's been maybe questioning their boundaries or feeling stuck in the quote, should. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should be here in my life. I should be a certain way. I should be a certain size. Whatever that should is. If you feel that way, re-listen to this. If you have a friend or a close loved one that could also use this wisdom, share this episode with them because I want us to normalize being fluid. I want us to normalize boundaries being flexible and allowing them to be more aligned and really honor the truth that your intuition always knows when it's time to pivot. And don't forget, if you've been walking through this boundary shifts of your own lately, I want you to send me a DM. I want you to either comment on this episode, whether you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube, or DM me on Instagram and let me know what's come up for you. If you've been walking and you've noticed some shifts in your boundaries, let's talk about it. I love hearing stories. I love hearing your stories and really holding space for your own becoming. I love to witness your journey. And that's actually a huge shift that is possible for you when you share your journey. It's one of the biggest takeaways that clients tell me when they work with me, when they hire me. And they just say, this journey feels so different because I have someone witnessing me and I have someone holding space for my journey. And by commenting and sharing with me what's going on in your journey, this growth will be amplified for you too. So that is my call to action for you guys. Share this episode with a friend who needs to hear it. And if you've been feeling some shift in your own boundaries, DM me. I want to hear about it. I want to hold space for you. I want to celebrate you, girlfriend. Okay. So that's going to be the wrap up of this episode. Thank you for being flexible with not seeing the video if you're on YouTube. And I'm excited I made it through it without a big coughing attack. So that's a win. All right, guys. Until next time, stay sacred, stay sovereign, and above all, love yourself like you mean it. Bye for now.